Welcome back to another Pokemon TCG tabletop video. In today's video, I'm going to be playing League at Cans and Games, as I always am, but this time I'm going to be playing some Miraidon. The format's ending, and although I've loved playing Gardevoir, I just wanted to get some simple games in, didn't want to be thinking too hard, as I'm putting most of my energy towards post-rotation. As far as the list we're playing goes, we're playing a pretty standard list. I've got a Blood Moon, Ursaluna, and a Defiance Band in the deck in order to counter Goldengo, right? So you can use the Blood Moon and Band, of course, to kill a Goldengo. But otherwise, pretty standard deck. I think I cut like a Lightning Energy from the typical build. We're rocking that Secret Box, and the rest of the deck speaks for itself. Getting to this first game, we're up against the Chien Pao Demon. Some might know him as the Chien Pao Demon for all you Toronto locals out there. But he's going to be playing Chien Pao, or actually, sorry, there is no Chien Pao in his deck at this point. It is a Baxcalibur Greninja EX deck. So, bro is definitely cooking. But Greninja EX is pretty scary for us. If that EX ever comes online, we can't really deal with that. I think we need like a 6 energy Raichu to kill it. So we're definitely going to be hoping that Dustin cannot set up that Greninja EX. As far as this turn 1 goes, I hit my Squawk and I draw into a pretty mediocre hand. And at that point, really happy to have this Rotom in order to just draw us 3 cards. Dustin didn't really do much on turn 1, so we should be good here to just pass with the Miraidon inactive. You might have noticed I have Pikachu EX in my hand, so I debated like retreating into the Pikachu EX to prevent a potential 2-prize turn, but the more I thought about it, the more I just figured it was like kind of impossible for Dustin to actually attack on this turn. Like he just went double Frigibax pass on turn 1. He didn't touch an energy, so just decided to keep my free retreater in the active there with the rescue board, make my turn 2 amp a little bit easier. And you can see Dustin here, just like I was saying, doesn't have a particularly strong hand. Now, you see him Ultra Ball away that Terra Pokemon. At first, I thought that was the Greninja EX, but it's actually an Ice-Q EX. For those of you that don't know what Ice-Q EX does, neither do I, but for 3 energies, I'm pretty sure it kills a Goldengo EX because of that fire weakness. Dustin just goes ahead, Ultra Ball, gets that Fezandipity down, and passes over the turn to me. And I've got Secret Box here, so I'm feeling pretty good. At this point, I'm kind of prize checking a little bit. Well, not really. I was just looking for my double turbo energy here because I wanted to be able to force Sealstone for that double turbo energy if I were to whiff this generator, but I actually prize my double turbo here, which makes things a little awkward because I have to find an energy off of these electric generators. Whenever I'm playing this deck, I always breathe a sigh of relief once I hit the point where I don't have to hit any generators. You'll see the Magnemite on my bench. That's really going to help me hopefully not have to hit any generators moving forwards. Once I get this Iron Hands going, we can use the Magneton to power something up. And then I'm thinking my last 2 prizes are probably going to come from like Blood Moon on the Fezandipity or maybe a Miraidon attack killing the Fezandipity. I get some lightning Pokemon out of my deck here, just figuring that if I hit this gen, life is good, but I whiff the gen, which means that I have to Sealstone for another generator. And at this point, like if I whiff the next generator, like I might actually lose the game because then I have to instant charge again. Dustin could get going. Now, Dustin like has kind of shown us that his hand is terrible, so maybe whiffing this generator wouldn't even be that bad. Like I could just pass again and he wouldn't attack. But we hit the generator, which means we're going to get that amp off here. This does mean Dustin is going to get access to that Fezandipity, but we're going up 2 prizes. We've got the Magnemite on our board. We've got Fezandipity to draw us some more cards, and we're feeling pretty good about our position overall. You'll notice that Magneton is in the discard, so I will have to find a Night Stretcher at some point to bring that back. But we toss the Bravery Charm onto the hands, just figuring that this would make a Chien Pao attack cost 1 more energy to actually knock us out, but Dustin does not even have a Chien Pao here, so it is not possible for our hands to be knocked out. He's got to get down some Froakies so he can get out some Greninjas. Honestly, if a Greninja EX did hit the board, I could see a world where I actually lose this game. Irida here is going to go ahead and get out that Baxcalibur. I've only got 1 electric generator left, so this could get a little awkward here. Dustin could maybe this turn use Greninja to KO the Magnemite, And then on his next turn, he could kill this Iron Hands with a Greninja EX. That sounds like actually like a pretty strong play here. Maybe my Bravery Charm should have gone onto the Magnemite. That way it's protected from this Greninja attack, but I think overall I'm not too concerned about my Magnemite dying to this Greninja attack. This means I get to keep my hands, which overall is a major win. Another thing to note here is that Dustin only has the one Baxcalibur. He doesn't have any backup Frigibax, so that's going to be a big liability on his board, right? I can just kill that Baxcalibur, and he's not really going to be able to do much on his following turns. So we're going to see that SER here. It's going to be getting back those energies, and the Greninja attack is going to be coming online here, and that Magnemite is going to be going down. And at this point in the game, I started thinking of all of the random things that could happen that might cause me to somehow lose this game. I mean, Iono is the first thing you got to think about when you're winning like this, right? You always want to think like, what could cause me to lose, right? And play around as much as you can. So I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I could get like Iono to 1. So how can I set up a board where I can like win the game with like nothing useful in my hand, or as minimalistic of a hand as possible? Some other things I thought about are maybe like Greninja EX coming out, and like somehow I can't kill Greninja EX, and then Dustin gets like a lot of turns. The other thing I thought of there, and the reason why I actually arm press this Baxcalibur instead of just amping the Greninja, is that if I just amped the Greninja and then my Iron Hands dies, I actually don't really have an attacker, and I would have to hit an electric generator onto that Miraidon on the bench, right? And I don't want to be put in a position where I have to hit a generator. So I just went ahead, I arm press the backs. That means my opponent's not going to be able to attack. And then on the next turn, I can take some more prizes with the Iron Hands, attach another energy to the Miraidon, and then I'm threatening to Photon Blast without having to hit any generators, right? We can do that onto the Fez, or even just like any one prize Pokemon is going to be good. And so I felt like this kind of arm press approach was just a little less risky, even though it does kind of like make my prize map a little awkward. Like I'm probably going to be amping for 2 next turn and then like taking 2 more. So it's a little awkward, but I thought this was the less or the more risk adverse approach. And you definitely want to be risk adverse when you're in a winning position. Now here I have another decision. I have my final boss's orders in my hand. And so I'm debating just like bossing up the Froakie and knocking it out. I feel like Greninja EX is kind of the only way I can really lose this game. I think it's the only Pokemon in Dustin's deck that I can't KO with Photon Blast. So although like getting rid of all of my boss's orders was a little scary, right? If Dustin has like, I don't know, an Iron Hands EX here, or well, actually that's not true, because of the Iron Bundle, he needs to have 2 Pokemon in play that I can't KO, right? So you need to like put Iron Hands EX in the active and then have another Pokemon on his bench that I can't KO, but I mean, obviously his bench only has 1 spot, so he can't do that. And at this point, I'm pretty sure Dustin is just about checkmated. He's going to take a second, consider his options, think if there's anything he can do. Take a look at his deck. He notes that Iron Hands there as the only Pokemon that I can't KO, but he's going to realize that he can't actually make a board that stops me from taking my last prize, and he's going to go ahead and scoop it up. So we're going to start out this league with a win here with the trusty old Miraidon. Before I get into round 2, I just wanted to take a sec and point out that 67% of viewers on this channel are not subscribed. If you enjoy my content, if you watch these videos regularly, please hit that subscribe button. It helps me a lot, helps my channel grow, and helps me continue bringing these videos to you guys on a weekly basis. In the second round, we run into a Lost Box. Now, I feel okay about this matchup. I think if I'm able to set up 3 Iron Hands and go amp, 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 my opponent can't really do anything about it, but I start off the game by using Squawk to discard Night Stretcher, and that means that I won't actually be able to set up 3 Iron Hands this game. So my opponent is able to consistently respond and KO my Iron Hands when I use them. There's nothing I can really do. Even if I take the first 2 prizes, I won't be able to maintain that 2 prize race, right? Pikachu EX is going to come in. I can't take that for 2 prizes. I won't be able to amp any of the Comfies on the bench, and attacking with anything that's not in Iron Hands is just not going to cut it. So my opponent here, playing Lost Box, is going to take his time, map out all of his prizes. I think something to note there was that he actually prized his Pikachu EX, so that's going to put him in an awkward spot. Give me a bit of a chance to, well, not get my Iron Hands KO'd, really. But a strong start for him for sure. Got the Poffin and the Colress and the Rescue Board. What more can you ask for as a Lost Box player? We're going to see that Gravity Mountain hit the Lost Zone. Not particularly useful in this matchup, but a cool inclusion from him. I imagine allowing him to one-shot things like Dragapult and Charizard EX with that Pikachu EX. Lots of cards hitting the Lost Zone, 4 in the zone. And we see that Radiant Greninja hit the Lost Zone, so you know the other card is going to be good. Here comes the Pikachu EX out of the prizes. He found the Heavy Ball pretty early, so he's going to be able to get that Pikachu EX online pretty shortly. Now, he is going to need a few more cards in order to get off that Pikachu attack. And I think my opponent actually makes a mistake here with this Cram attack. I suppose this like 110 damage into the Squawk ability could be helpful later on to like Sableye, but I think I would value that switch card just to like lock in that turn 2 Pikachu attack. I suppose if his hand is like really broken, he might not need that switch card, but he needs to be able to respond to this Iron Hands with that Pikachu EX, and maybe that switch card could have helped him. Onto my turn. I'm going to go ahead, Arven. I'm going to get Board and Generator. I could have got Secret Box there, but I think my hand was like too good to actually discard any cards. And I think I have Area 0 in my hand already. So I was kind of just like, well, I'll save the Secret Box. Maybe I'll want to get another Area 0 out later. Maybe get a big like Raikou KO into something like a Blood Moon. I wasn't really sure, but I just couldn't find enough discards for that Secret Box. I'm pretty much all in here on this first Iron Hands. So the plan here is set up this Iron Hands. We double hit the Jenny. That's very nice. And hope it doesn't get KO'd. If it gets KO'd by a Pikachu EX, I'm going to fall behind really hard in this game because, like I said, my Night Stretcher's gone, so I can't go triple hands. So I pretty much cross my fingers. I'm pretty confident that if my opponent whiffs the Pikachu attack here, I will win the game. If he has to use like Blood Moon for some reason, maybe he doesn't have the correct energies, that'd be really good for me. I could kill that with a Raikou. And pretty much all eyes on my opponent here. He's going to start off with that Comfey. That's going to find him this Colress. And with the Colress, he's going to be able to get to 7 in the zone, no problem. From the looks of it, he's also got a Crispin there. He's going to go ahead and retreat into the Pikachu. I see it. This is actually a really smart play for my opponent. Not getting greedy with the Colress. He's got Crispin, which allows him to find an energy. He can vacuum his own board to get to 7. Crispin finds one of the energies, and then Mirage Gate finds the other 2. I think if he Colress there, and then like with the energy, he would actually lose the game. So this is super good. And then next turn, he can just use that Colress to hopefully get up to that next Pikachu attack. It is a little awkward. It does cost him his Rescue Board, but I think overall it's okay. He's going to be able to keep an energy on his Pikachu as well. So all he needs is a Mirage Gate next turn. I think I spotted a Super Rod in his hand as well. And so onto my turn. At this point, I just have to hope that my opponent can't kill my next Iron Hands here. So I'm going to go like Iron Bundle here or Boss and just like amp something on the bench ideally. And then I hope my opponent doesn't have Mirage Gate. There's potentially an argument to just like attack into this Pikachu with like Raikou or something and then like kill it next turn. But the problem with that is we're just losing the prize trade and we don't have any hand disruption. So my opponent is just going to be really in control of the game. If I don't take a 2 prize KO here, the pressure is just really off for my opponent. And he does also still have the Squawk ability on the board here. So he doesn't even necessarily need a Pikachu attack if I don't kill something, right? Like say I like hit this Pikachu for 100 damage or something. My opponent could just come in and Sableye the Squawk. He would go down to 2 prizes, but at least in the case where I amp a Comfey here, my opponent can't Sableye because then I would just use Iron Hands to win the game. So it looks like we're going to be able to make the play. Sealstone for the DTE, Iron Bundle, and we're forcing our opponent here one last time to have Mirage Gate. If he has it, we have no more Iron Hands, and the game is definitely chalked. But I think you can also see from this game, if I had the Night Stretcher remaining in my deck, I think I would just win this game basically for free because I amp here, my opponent kills me, and then I just like use Magneton, Night Stretcher the hands, get that third Iron Hands out, and I'm just going 2-2-2. But it's not the case here. We're going to go ahead and I don't even know what we're thinking about here. Just being a Slowpoke. I guess I got a Bravery Charm. no really point in using that Bravery Charm. Yeah, and I just go ahead and amp that Comfy. So my opponent here, going to go for the Chorus here, needs to find the Mirage Gate, and there it is. That's going to let him use Pikachu EX to knock out this Iron Hands. And from here, I think the game is pretty much over. The Flower selecting is going to come through here. That's going to get him to 10 in the zone. He's got a plethora of ways to close out the game on the last turn. Right, he could use Sableye to kill that Squawk, like I mentioned already. He could use Blood Moon, potentially, to take the last two. He could attack with the Pikachu EX again here. Yeah, and you see there, he grabbed the Psychic Energy there over the Switch Cart, recognizing that that Sableye attack is one of his win cons. He's going to go ahead and put back that Cramorant with the Super Rod. I suppose that's also a potential way to win. Cramorant plus Prime Catcher kills Squawkabilly, so just saturating his deck with ways to win the game on the following turn. And then we're going to see that Pikachu attack take out this Iron Hands. I suppose one other thing for him to think about is that I could randomly play Iono, and that might cause him some issues, right? Maybe I were to go like Iono plus like poke the Pikachu for some damage and then like kill it next turn. I don't know. But we see the Fan Rotom come down. I mean, that's an attacker that can kill Squawkabilly. Also, don't want it in his deck if he gets Iono'd. And then an energy coming onto the Comfy so that next turn he can retreat it. I think I might have maybe liked to see that energy go onto the Pikachu EX so that he could retreat the Pikachu EX next turn. But overall, I think it's just not really too big of a deal. And without an Iono in my deck, my opponent's going to have access to a bunch of good stuff on his final turn. I'm just looking to not blow up my Magneton here. Just don't want to give him one more card. I'm going to go in with the Blood Moon and a Bravery Charm. This is pretty much the only Pokemon in my deck that doesn't die to an opposing Blood Moon. So I want to make it difficult for my opponent. This forces him to have either the Sableye play or Blood Moon Prime Catcher. And that's going to take his final two and close out the game. So discarding that Night Stretcher on turn one, definitely very detrimental, and we're going to be 1-1 moving forwards. In round 3, we run into a Gardevoir player, and they start Klefki, which, as a Gardevoir player, I know how strong this Klefki is against Miraidon. Unfortunately for my opponent, my hand is, like, actually broken. I have, like, Secret Box, Boss, Generator. I don't even really know what's in my hand, but I know it's broken. It's a little bit awkward for me here, though, because, okay, so I have Secret Box. I could Secret Box for Boss's Orders and like, kill the Ralts here with Raikou, or I could just try to amp this Klefki through the Mischievous Lock, the Wonder Lock, whatever the ability is called that's shutting off all my abilities here. But I've only got one Nest Ball here, so my Nest Ball can either get me, like, the Iron Hands I need, or it could get me a V Pokemon to use for a Seal Stone. So I'm kind of just trying to piece this together. I actually have to Secret Box away a Nest Ball, which is just so awkward. This is going to go ahead and get me, I think I ended up deciding on the Arven line. One other thing to note here is that I did actually prize Double Turbo Energy. So the Seal Stone, I'm pretty sure I prized Double Turbo Energy. So I'm going to have, I believe I have 2 generators here and a Lightning Energy in hand. So as long as I single hit one generator, if I double hit the other generator, I think that gives me the amp. I'm not entirely sure what I needed off these gens, but I hit the 3. I might have needed all 3 of those energies to amp here. I don't know if there was a better play for me to make other than just sending it in on those generators. Maybe I could have, like, tried to boss and kill the Ralts with Raikou, but that felt a little weak. So at the end of the day, I just ended up sending it in with that amp there. So let me know in the comment section down below if you would have played out that turn 1 there differently. Definitely risky. If I don't get this amp off, I just have to, like, arm press the Klefki, and that sounds pretty bad. So maybe there was room to make a better play there. And my opponent here, definitely a little upset. I think she said something like, like, that's very good. I was like, yeah, I guess it's very good for me. Definitely feel her pain here. I've been in this spot. Of course, I play a lot of Gardevoir, and I've definitely been amped through a Klefki 1 or 2 times. Shout out to my friend Tanner Hurley. He's the CEO of getting amped through Klefki. If you know him, give him a hard time next time you see him for always getting amped through Klefki. But here, my opponent has a pretty lackluster hand. Of course, she wants to use TM Evo and like set up 3 Curlias, but she doesn't have an energy in her hand, right? So she can't get something like Poffin plus TM Evo because she doesn't have the energy. She could get like Vessel TM Evo, but then she doesn't have any Ralts. Her unfair stamp is prized, which I think would also be like another great pickup here. And so she just finds herself in a really, really rough position. I think what I would have gone for here is like whatever item card plus Bravery Charm, like put Bravery Charm on the Monkey Dory, retreat into it, and pass. Like obviously, like that sounds pretty terrible, but I think that's what you have to do. She ends up deciding to TM Evo up into the Gardevoir EX. I think that makes some sense, right? I could just amp the Curlia, and then the game would be over on the spot. The problem here is that she doesn't have any Psychic Energies in the discard, so this Gardevoir EX actually doesn't do too much for her. And now I'm just trying to piece together how I close out this game. I end up deciding to get down another Iron Hands. I figure like if my active one dies, I could maybe lose. This is a little risky because this Iron Hands EX on the bench becomes a liability. I had 2 generators, so I was like, okay, I get some energies on here. Maybe threaten the amp. And I've got the Seal Stone on the Raichu, so now I've got some protection from Iono. I could always Seal Stone for like a Latias EX, and that could be pretty good. Although my Iron Hands can't really be catcher stalled because I've got that Seal Stone. At this point, my opponent's got another Arven. It's not going to do them too much good here. I think I'll just be able to close out the game on the next turn with the Forest Seal Stone. She spends some time trying to figure out if there's anything she can do. I think the only thing that would stop me... No, I think maybe like... Okay, like Counter Catcher Raichu Joust? With Klefki to get rid of the tool, or like Counter Catcher Raichu kill it with like Gardevoir EX plus Monkey Dory. I don't know. You have to deal with the Seal Stone. Or maybe you could like Counter Catcher the Raichu and like leave Gardevoir EX in the active. I technically can't kill Gardevoir EX. Then I would need to retreat and boss. And I'm not guaranteed to have both of those with Forest Seal Stone. So I guess that would be the play here. But my opponent doesn't really have the cards to pull off anything substantial here. She's just going to go ahead, Counter Catcher up that Magneton, and she's going to pass over the turn, hoping I don't have an energy or a boss, but I've got the energy, Seal Stone for the boss, and that's going to close out our third round. A little bit of an easy one. My opponent just not really able to play the game, but hey, that's what Miraidon does. So we're 2-1 going into the last round. In our last round, we're up against another Lost Box deck, but this time we're up against Lost Tina, so a little bit of a different dynamic. Of course, my opponent doesn't have access to that Pikachu EX, so it's a little easier for us to maintain those consistent 2-prize KOs. Now, one thing I don't realize here, and you can see as he's flicking through his deck there, is that he actually plays a Klefki, so a bit of a spicy inclusion in this Tina deck. If that Klefki comes into the active here, I will be in a world of trouble. I'll hopefully be able to just amp through the Klefki again. That'd be pretty awesome. But my opponent here decides he can't just get the Klefki, because if he just nest balls for Klefki, he's got nothing. So he gets the Greninja, tries to find like a Buddy Poffin to keep his turn going, get that Klefki down, but he doesn't get there and just has to pass off the turn. Over to me, I'm going to have a pretty explosive start here. We got the Miraidon down. We're going to be expanding our bench. And now we've also got the raw secret box. So that would have also helped us get out of that Klefki, even if it came down here. And we're going to be looking to get off that turn 1 amp you very much. We've prized our Squawkabilly EX, so we go ahead and secret box for the heavy ball. Arven's going to get us the generator here, and we're going to be well on our way to a turn 1 attack. Just going to have to hit a couple generators. I'm thinking about what Pokemon I should get off this tandem unit. Do I go double Miraidon and like really expand my board? Or do I just go ahead and get like Iron Hands Magnemite? We're going to go ahead. We're going to opt for the Pikachu EX and the Rotom V. My Forest Seal Stone can't go onto my Raichu here, so I kind of need another V Pokemon. That's like the awkward part of like starting a V Pokemon is you need to find another one because the active one needs rescue board, right? So I end up just setting up the board like this. I feel like, oh, right. So, sorry, I actually prized my second Miraidon this game, or else I definitely would have gone like double Miraidon, really expand my bench, thin out my deck for those electric generators. but I prized my second Miraidon, so I couldn't do that. And that's also going to result in me not getting down Magnemite on this turn, which is like a little annoying. Um, but we should be okay. Our Iron Hands, I don't think can get knocked out here unless there's like some crazy combo of like Blood Moon, Mirage Gate. I don't even really know what would have to happen. This Tina deck a little bit slower, and so this turn 1 amp is going to put on a lot of pressure. I think my opponent's best move here is probably to just use Abyss Seeking, right? I can't knock out that Giratina V, so he would force me to find like a boss or a bundle. Ideally, I think he gets down like double Tina V here and then uses Abyss Seeking. Of course, his hand is kind of underwhelming here. He hasn't had the chance to use a Colress yet, and so he's just going to go ahead and retreat into the Gigas. This makes a lot of sense too, actually. I can't amp this either. Even the bundle, I mean, he would probably send up the Tina V, right? So we go ahead, we Heavy Ball, we get the Magnemite out of the prizes. So Magnemite, Squawk, and the second Miraidon all prize this game, and we're just going to go ahead and boss and amp. Now, something awkward there was that I didn't have an energy card to attach to something like the Miraidon or the Raichu. So if my opponent were to go like Roxanne plus Lost Impact this Iron Hands, I actually see a world where I could definitely lose. I mean, oh, Blood Moon makes it even easier, right? Just like Blood Moon Roxanne here would actually be really strong. He also kind of needed to replace the stadium here because now I can just win the game with like Raichu, or not Raichu, Raikou plus a Magneton attack. And I actually don't realize it here. I'm trying to piece together like the Raichu attack. And then I can't remember like what my opponent said, but he was like, oh, like, do you have the Raikou or like something like that? And I'm like, what? Like I can win with Raikou? So a little bit of a lesson for everyone watching there. Don't tell your opponent how they can win the game, because I actually definitely did not realize that this Raikou just like knocked out this Blood Moon here. I guess like, I'm not a particularly experienced Raikou or Miraidon player, but I just end up getting all the energies in play to get the Raichu attack off here. And another simple game with Miraidon. I definitely appreciated a little bit of a simpler league after all the rounds in Vancouver with Gardevoir. Definitely fried my brain a little bit here. So that's going to be our last league with Miraidon. Bit of a send-off for this deck. I did enjoy playing this deck. And that's going to be it for this video. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you in some more post-rotation content soon.